Hi everybody, it's ThatLeaf with another episode of Facts and Common Sense. Now, have any of you ever heard of the organization known as FIRE? Well, in case you haven't, FIRE is short for the Foundation for Individual Rights in Education. If you were to look up their mission statement on this website, it would be as follows. The mission of FIRE is to defend and sustain individual rights at America's colleges and universities. These rights include freedom of speech, legal equality, due process, religious liberty, and sanctity of conscience, the essential qualities of individual liberty and dignity. FIRE's core mission is to protect the unprotected and to educate the public and communities of concerned Americans about the threats to these rights on our campuses and about the means to preserve them. Recently, the organization has conducted a survey regarding college students' attitudes towards free speech. Partnering up with YouGov, a nonpartisan polling and research firm based in California, FIRE had surveyed approximately 1,250 participants from May to June of 2017. These were the key findings of the survey. When it came to hate speech, approximately 46% of respondents do recognize that it is protected by the First Amendment. However, 48% of the students believe that this should not be the case. With open-ended questions, 45% of students identified speech with a racist comment as hate speech, and 13% of students associated hate speech with violence. Regarding guest speakers, 56% of students agree with disinviting them if need be, with students identified as Democratic being 19% more likely to do so than students identified as Republicans. However, only 2% of students felt that they'd carry out actions to keep a guest speaker event from happening, and 1% would be willing to use violence to disrupt said event. Regarding expression and speech, 58% of students felt that the campus community shouldn't be exposed to intolerant or offensive ideas. About 30% of students had self-censored their words due to possibly causing offense to others. 54% of participants have reported self-censoring in class at one point since beginning their college days. When comparing different ideologies, students that were identified as very liberal were 14% more likely to express themselves in the classroom than their very conservative counterparts. Also, about 60% of Republican students think that they shouldn't have to walk past a protest on campus, as compared to 28% of Democratic students. Looking at this data, one thing seems clear to me. The college experience has become more partisan than before. With conservative students more likely to not express themselves or even self-censor themselves out of fear of being deemed offensive or judged, it seems to me that the overall attitude appears to be in favor of liberal views. And considering how some college campuses have been sites for sheer liberal lunacy, Evergreen and Mizzou, I'm not surprised. I believe the reason why this is the case is due to the fact that we're currently going through a generation where liberal viewpoints are held by the majority, particularly the younger college students of today. Perhaps because of this, emphasis on freedom of speech and expression isn't as important to them as it was for their predecessors. After all, if a majority of people hold similar views as you, and if there isn't something to try to stop you from speaking out, why worry about it? To be fair, there are a couple things I'd like to ask about in regards to the survey. First, the survey's sample size was only about 1,250 participants, which is rather small considering there are about over 17.4 million people enrolled in post-secondary education last year. I think a larger sample size would get a better scope of the overall views of college students, like, say, 10,000 students? Also, the locations of where the surveys had taken place should come into play. Where were the surveys taken at? The West Coast? New England? The South? After all, different places can consist of populations split between different viewpoints. For example, the people living on the West Coast, which consists of California, Oregon, and Washington, are primarily liberal in their views, whereas the South, including states like Alabama and Georgia, are primarily conservative in their views. But if the data is a representation of the overall college experience, this can indicate that the majority of students are willing to do whatever it takes to keep ideas deemed offensive off of campus. And that's a rather sad thing to see because exposure to other ideas can actually help a person grow and be more grounded. In fact, the same survey by FIRE indicated that 64% of students who had heard a guest speaker had actually changed their opinion on a subject. Not to mention that a whopping 93% of participants had wanted schools to invite various guest speakers on campus. So maybe there is some hope for these kids after all. Hey, thanks for watching. If you want to learn more information regarding what was discussed in today's video, check out the links in the description below. And if you like what you see, go ahead and check out my channel for more videos like this. Anyway, it's ThatLeaf signing off saying thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care!